The day I graduated, my parents didn't show up. I got a text instead. "Don't come back. We've already rented out your room." I didn't reply. I packed what I had and left. 3 years later, they found me, crying outside my apartment, saying, "We miss our son." I just closed the curtain. I always thought the final memory of my parents would be a photograph. Maybe one of those cliché front-lawn graduation shots. Me in a cap and gown, them flanking me with fake smiles and hands on my shoulders. But that picture doesn't exist. Instead, the last thing I got from them was a text. Just after I stepped off the stage, diploma still warm in my hands. "Don't come back. We've already rented out your room. No congrats. No, we're proud of you. Just a notification. Cold. Final." I remember blinking at the screen for a long time, as students around me hugged their families, took selfies, laughed through tears. I was standing next to a vending machine in the back hallway of the auditorium, half in shadow. I could still hear the tassels swishing and the announcement of names continuing. But I was somewhere else. Like someone had opened a trapdoor under my feet, and I was falling through silence. I didn't reply. Not then. Not ever. Packing what I had didn't take long. A duffel bag. My laptop. A thrift store suitcase with one wheel that squeaked like it had arthritis. I left the rest, winter coats, old soccer trophies, childhood books, locked in a storage unit I couldn't afford long-term. I stayed with a friend for a week. Slept on the floor of his studio, next to a broken futon and a loud fridge. Then moved in with a coworker from the cafe I worked at during college. A month later, I was on a stranger's couch in a shared sublet with 2 cats and 3 passive-aggressive roommates who rotated out every few weeks. I got used to disappearing, keeping my head down, smiling like I meant it when customers asked how my day was going. Living the dream, I'd say. A little too dry, a little too true. 3 years passed like that, sometimes sleeping with my shoes on in case I needed to leave fast. Sometimes wondering how it all turned out like this. But mostly I just didn't look back. Here's the part people always want to know. Why would your parents do that? The short version is this: my father didn't think studying art was real. My mother echoed whatever he said. I was supposed to major in accounting, take over the family business, be someone practical, someone predictable. Instead, I got a partial scholarship to a second-tier state college and declared a double major in fine arts and English. I told them at Thanksgiving freshman year. My father didn't speak for the rest of the meal. My mother just said, "You'll regret this. Someday you'll thank us for pushing you to change your mind." I didn't change it, but I stopped calling home after that. The day they found me was a Tuesday, April, rainy. I'd just come back from a double shift at the restaurant I was bartending at. My body hurt in that dull, wet way you only get from being on your feet for 12 hours and pretending to be cheerful for strangers. I was unlocking my door when I heard a voice. Soft, familiar. "Evan." I turned. There they were. My parents. Older, wetter, smaller somehow. My mother was clutching a gift bag, rain-soaked tissue paper bleeding pastel colors into the handles. My father looked stiff in a suit that didn't quite fit anymore. And then I saw it, the tremble in her jaw, the puffiness in his eyes. They'd been crying. My mother stepped forward, voice barely above the drizzle. "We miss our son." I didn't say a word. I just stepped inside, closed the door, and pulled the curtain shut. Later, I sat on the floor of my apartment, lights off, staring at that same curtain, wondering if they were still out there. Part of me wanted to open the door and scream, ask them where the hell they were when I called from that payphone freshman year, sobbing because my roommate OD'd in the bathroom and I didn't know what to do. Where were they when I spent Christmas Eve delivering pizza to drunk strangers because I couldn't afford a plane ticket home? Not that I had one to go to. Where were they when I needed a place to sleep, even just for one night? Instead, they gave me silence. And now that I'd survived it, they wanted the credit for my endurance. No, they don't get that. I still don't know who gave them my address. Maybe it was Lauren, an old friend from high school who ran into my mom at the grocery store. Maybe my father hired someone. Wouldn't be the first time he tried to fix a mistake by outsourcing the cleanup. But the truth? I don't care how they found me, because finding me now doesn't undo the years they chose to lose me. People talk about forgiveness like it's a gift you give someone else. But for me, it's not about being angry. I'm not. It's about the silence. The years I spent rebuilding myself from the pieces they shattered. And now that I've learned to live without their voices in my head, I don't need them echoing in my doorway. I don't know where I'm going next. But I know this: I'm not staying where I'm not wanted. Even if the ones doing the wanting suddenly remember how to knock. Edit 1. Some of you asked why I didn't open the door, why I didn't give them a chance to explain. Here's the thing. When someone leaves you behind without looking back, and only shows up once you've found peace without them, they're not returning for you. They're returning for the version of you they can still control. I didn't close the curtain out of hate. I closed it to protect the man I've become. Edit 2. To those wondering what I do now, I'm a freelance illustrator. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. I draw for indie authors, small studios, the occasional comic project. I have a tiny studio space and a cat named Harbor who insists on walking across my tablet at least twice a day. It's not the life my parents imagined for me. It's better. Edit 3. They left the gift bag on my doormat. Inside was a photo album. Me as a kid. Birthday parties. Soccer games. That time I dressed up as a crayon for Halloween. But on the last page, a printed photo of my graduation day. One of those generic press photos from the school's website. Someone had scribbled under it in my father's handwriting. Sorry we missed this. Hope it's not too late. Closed it. Tucked it into the back of my closet. Some things aren't about revenge. They're about understanding the difference between regret and responsibility. They regret it now, but they were responsible then. Date 1. It's strange how silence can feel like both armor and a cage. For the past 2 months I've kept to myself. No contact. No reply. Just the hum of the city and the steady rhythm of my own survival. But when you live quietly long enough, life finds new ways to interrupt. It started with a knock. Not my parents, not this time. It was Lauren. Yeah, that Lauren. High school best friend turned holiday card acquaintance. I hadn't seen her in years. Not since the graduation party where she promised, "We'll always be close." Right before ghosting me when things got awkward between my family and me, she showed up at my apartment building last Friday, holding a grocery bag full of citrus-scented candles and a pie she clearly didn't bake. "I didn't know where else to go," she said, eyes wide and watery. "Your mom called me." I nearly closed the door right there. But something about her posture stopped me. The way she kept glancing over her shoulder like someone was following her. So I let her in. We sat on the couch, Harbor climbing into her lap like he didn't care about past betrayals. That's when she told me. Apparently, my parents had spun a new narrative. Not just to her, but to a lot of people back home. Church friends, former co-workers, even my old art teacher. The story goes something like this. Evan had a breakdown. He pushed us away. We wanted to help, but he shut us out. We rented the room because we thought he was never coming back. He chose to disappear. I sat there listening, not saying a word. Lauren kept talking. "Your mom said they're going to counseling, that they're learning how to reconnect with estranged children. She's been posting these long, sad quotes on Facebook about forgiveness. People think you're just being cold." I laughed. Couldn't help it. Cold? I'd been set on fire and left to burn. Now that I'd rebuilt from the ashes, they were upset I didn't want to come warm myself by their hearth. Then she pulled out her phone. "There's something else," she said. She showed me a group chat I hadn't seen in years, our old high school crew. The same one that used to plan bonfires and road trips. They'd renamed it Evan's Echo, like I was a myth, a memory, a concept they occasionally discussed to feel wise and wistful. Most of the messages were tame. "Remember how Evan used to draw those crazy comics in class? I still have the one he made of Mr. Lentz as a vampire." But one message stopped me cold. From a guy named Mitch. Football team, class clown, once dated Lauren for a hot minute. Pretty sure his parents kicked him out. My cousin's neighbor said he OD'd and had to be revived in a parking lot. Would explain the radio silence. And under that, a reply, or maybe he just couldn't handle adulthood. Not everyone's cut out for real life. They weren't talking to me. They were talking about me. I didn't say much after Lauren left. Just nodded, thanked her for the pie, and locked the door behind her. Then I did something I haven't done in years. I went back online. Quietly. No post. No photo. Just observation. I looked at my mother's Facebook. There it was 3 weeks ago. Healing is messy, especially when your child won't let you in. But we're trying. God knows we're trying. Dozens of comments. All sympathy. All support. Not one person asked what exactly they were healing from. And suddenly I understood. This wasn't about finding me. It was about controlling the story. But here's where it gets interesting. A few nights ago, I got a message on my portfolio site. A woman named Dana, mid-40s, elegant tone. She wasn't a client. She was my mom's coworker, back when she was still working for that local insurance firm. Dana said she stumbled across my name in a Facebook comment thread and recognized it. Said she felt weirdly compelled to reach out. I don't know if this is overstepping, her message read, but I always admired your art. Your mom used to show it off at work, like she was the proudest person alive. But she never mentioned you by name. Always my son or the artist. She paused. And one day, out of nowhere, she stopped bringing it up entirely. I asked Dana if we could talk. She agreed. We met for coffee yesterday, and what she told me turned something inside out. Your parents, she said. They weren't just disappointed when you left. They were angry, but they never told people you cut them off. They implied you were unstable. Said they were worried you might show up and make a scene one day. A scene? I'd spent 3 years afraid to even exist too loudly. I asked her why she was telling me this now. She smiled, sad and tired. Because I watched your mother cry in the parking lot last week. Said she missed her son. But I think she misses the idea of you, not the actual you. And that's not fair. So now I'm sitting here, wondering what to do with the weight of this secondhand grief. They're rebuilding a version of the past that makes them look like victims. And the more I think about it, the more I realize something. They don't want reconciliation. They want redemption. But not the kind you earn. The kind you stage. Here's the truth. I don't need their approval. I don't need their version of closure. But I do want the truth. And if they won't stop rewriting my story behind my back, maybe it's time I write it myself. Out loud. I've been working on something. A show. A small gallery downtown took interest in my illustrations last month. I told them I wanted to do a themed set, family, memory, silence, survival. They said it sounded raw. They said, people need that. The opening is in 4 weeks. And here's the twist. I'm sending my parents an invitation. Handwritten. Sealed. But not as a peace offering. As a mirror. Let's see what they do when the curtain rises. And they're the ones left standing in the silence. Because this time, I'll be the one watching. Update 2. The gallery opening was last night. I didn't sleep the night before. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I kept second-guessing the title, the layout, the whole damn idea of putting them, my parents, at the center of something I'd poured my soul into. But it was too late to back out. The show was called Inheritance. Each piece was a window, not just into my childhood, but into the spaces between things. A pair of empty shoes by a locked door. A boy's silhouette facing a closed curtain. A birthday cake with only one slice missing. Lit by a candle that never melted. No names. No direct accusations. Just echoes. I arrived early, helped hang the last few prints, double-checked the lighting. My friend Ren, who helped me get the gallery gig, brought a flask of cheap bourbon and handed me a swig before the doors opened. You sure you want them to come? She asked. No, I said. But I want them to see it anyway. I'd mailed the invitations 2 weeks earlier. No return address. Just a date, time, and title in my own handwriting. I didn't know if they'd show, but they did. They walked in 37 minutes after opening. I saw them before they saw me. My father wore a stiff black coat like he was attending a funeral. My mother clutched her purse with both hands, like a shield. They moved slowly, stiffly. At first, they didn't recognize the art. Or maybe they did and just didn't want to. But then they stopped at piece number 5, a charcoal sketch of a narrow hallway, littered with packed bags. The door at the end is cracked open. Light spills out, but the figure is walking away from it. I saw my mother's hand go to her mouth. My father whispered something. They moved to the next piece. And the next. And then the one called The Room is already rented. A watercolor of a bedroom with a for rent sign in the window, even as a cap and gown lie folded on the bed. My mother turned away. They didn't cry. They just stood there, quiet, holding each other up in that way people do when the lie finally fractures. I didn't approach them. I stayed across the room, near the refreshments table, sipping soda from a plastic cup while people murmured around me. And then it happened. The unexpected part. A woman stepped forward from the crowd. Mid-50s, gray hair twisted into a loose bun, thick scarf, sharp eyes. She introduced herself as Annette. I know this is weird, she said. But I needed to say something. I nodded, braced for criticism. But she didn't criticize. She pulled a letter from her bag. My son, she said, walked away from us 10 years ago. We didn't understand him. We said awful things. I told people he was unstable. Truth is, we were just scared. She swallowed. This show. I think he needs to see this. I think we all do. She pressed the letter into my hand. It was addressed to someone named Julian. She had tears in her eyes when she walked away. More people came after that. A teacher, a youth pastor, 2 strangers who said the pieces reminded them of their own fractured families. One woman stared at piece number 12, an ink sketch of a voicemail notification blinking on an old flip phone, and whispered, "That's exactly how it felt." By the time the crowd thinned out, my parents were gone. No note, no dramatic scene, just gone. Ren found me sitting on the gallery steps an hour later, staring at the sky like it might explain something. "You okay?" I thought about it. I think I am. But here's the twist I didn't expect. The real end I never saw coming. This morning, there was a letter slipped under my apartment door. No postage. Hand-delivered. Folded twice. It was from my father. Not an apology. Not an excuse. Just one line. The show was painful, which means it was honest. Which means you're the son I always should have had the courage to know. No return address. No phone number. Nothing else. And somehow that hurt more than the silence ever did. So here's where I'm leaving it. I don't think we'll reconcile. Not really. Some bonds don't grow back. Not after they've been deliberately severed. But what I have now is mine. My truth. My work. My space. My voice. And in some strange, poetic way, I got the closure I never thought I'd get. Not because they gave it to me, but because I created it. Line by line. Frame by frame. And maybe, just maybe, someone else out there, standing in that gallery last night, found their own kind of healing in the silence between the words. The best revenge isn't fire. It's clarity. It's peace. It's watching the people who broke you finally see what they shattered, and knowing you no longer need them to pick up the pieces. Not anymore. Thanks for walking this road with me, Reddit. I'm moving on now. Light on my shoulders. Curtain drawn. But this time, it's letting the sun in.